If we really were perfect, we would be happy in that relationship. We would feel comfortable going into that meeting, starting that new project, and we would know exactly what to do, and everything would be successful. And of course, that's not life. But there's something inside of us that resists that. And when we resist that, we rob ourselves of tons of opportunities and cause ourselves many, many problems. What's funny is if we really were perfect, we wouldn't feel the need to hide our problems, the flaws inside of us, and the challenges that we have, because we would be so accepting. We would understand that that's just how life works. That brings me to my first point. Everything changes. Everything changes all around us because we're not isolated. We're interacting with all of the people that inhabit the world. Electricians that maybe didn't do the job right, or a mechanic that messed something up. Traffic that is unexpected and unpredictable. People that are imperfect, causing trouble for us and giving us things to solve, problems to overcome. And that's happening all around us. If we think that we're perfect, we end up looking at that world and criticizing other people. This distances us from other people. It robs us from opportunities that we could be using to have wonderful interactions with people, because then we have put on this habit of judging other people as wrong, and we are so right. We deserve to be at work on time, have everything work out perfectly for us, because of course we're perfect. Nothing bad could possibly happen to me. And of course, I know how to handle this. I have the best opinion on how to do things in the world out of anybody else. Do you see how that's just incorrect? But that's essentially what we're saying when we view that we're perfect. We expect the world to behave in the same way. Perfectionism actually makes us pretty irresponsible. And I'm going by the definition of the term that responsible is the ability to respond. Say that your video that you put out on YouTube doesn't get any likes. You put hours and hours and hours into it and nobody watches it. Maybe other videos performed well. Maybe it's something that you really felt in your bones that would do well, and yet crickets. Well, are all of the people on YouTube wrong? Or does your video just lack polish, clarity, and a good premise? Well, which do you think is more likely, that hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people are wrong, or your video just kind of stinks? And which one can you control? Admitting that we're imperfect allows us to put control back in our own hands. And maybe control is not the right way to put it, but being able to be the driver of our lives again. Because if we believe that we're perfect, then there's nowhere to improve. There's no higher height to go to. But if we admit that we're not perfect, you can look at that video that you put out and see that, okay, I can control how good the story is. I can learn better storytelling. I can control how clearly I speak. I can control how well the video flows. But I can't control the opinions of other people. Lack of perfection allows us to open up to all the potential that we have within ourselves and doesn't put a ceiling on our development. And that's a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful opportunity. But it's one that we're struggling with. What's funny is feeling that we're perfect makes us weaker. Accepting our flaws actually makes us stronger. It can keep you broke at work, for example, because you're going to come in and think that it's always everybody else's fault if something goes wrong. And you're going to be, again, cut off from criticism. Your boss is going to say things to you, and you're going to be in denial. People aren't going to want to work with you because you're not working in harmony with the rest of the team, and you're putting excessive burdens on other people because you think that you didn't do anything wrong. And of course, that in itself is wrong. In addition, we feel so much pressure to constantly perform at that level. And that is one of the toxic ways where our physiology and our health actually get impacted. Because if we do fail, if we experience those flaws that are inevitably going to come, we're going to feel this immense weight because our identity is going to be crushed. We're going to fight it, but really, deep down inside, we're going to be feeling that there's something wrong with us. And that's an immense pressure to keep trying to perform at that level, never accepting that it's okay to fall below that. And we humans are flawed because we have these minds that constantly we are struggling to navigate. There's so much coming in, and that there's this inner drive that's trying to propel us in a certain direction. And that's where perfectionism also can bite us. When we think that that thing inside of us that drives us, that curiosity, that passion, is not good enough, that we shouldn't do that and instead try to fit in with society. That can be one of the most harmful and toxic ways of going through life. Because fighting that innate nature within you is a never-ending battle, and you will never win it. I fought so long to try to be this ideal man, to try to fit into my father's shoes even, and I never found success. Fighting those deep curiosities inside of us is another way of thinking that we're perfect. Fighting that deep curiosity and trying to fit into the bigger social picture perfectly is not healthy. There's no way that we could be 8 billion people and one lowest common denominator of being would suffice for all of us. That's just not going to be the case. There are always outliers. There are always people designed to do pottery and carpentry, firefighting, underwater welding, all these types of things that they were curious about, interested in, and they pursued. Just like a doctor was curious about healing people, or, maybe he was only curious about making money and now he's suffering when he really wanted to be a deep sea wildlife photographer. I don't know. It's impossible to say what the right path is, but trying to fit into that perfect idea of what it is to be a human being is just going to cause us suffering. Because then at the end of life, what's going to happen? We're going to look at what we did and say, well, what was the point? If I never spent this time on this planet to follow that calling, that curiosity, what did I spend it all for? For a paycheck? Why did I not contribute something that I knew I could accomplish at a higher level? Why did I bow to my fears and not branch out and listen to that calling inside of me? That's not necessarily perfectionism, but it is still perfectionism in that it's trying to fit into that box of what society has given us instead of accepting that maybe that box doesn't fit us, we don't fit that box, and trying to improve ourselves by stepping up to our higher potential. Because then we're admitting that, okay, I don't have to be fitting in here because I have something within me that is never going to let me rest, which lives somewhere outside of that box. And then perfectionism can keep us single, lonely, because ultimately we're going to be walking around with this air that there's nothing wrong with us and that I am so wonderful. You have to understand that I'm so good at everything I do. You should be with me because I am so perfect. I am really, truly the best, the most wonderful thing ever. That just hurts us, makes us lonely because of the fact that human beings mirror each other. Everybody that you get to be around in some way relates with the way you are presenting yourself. That mask that you put on is how people then start to feel. It tells them something very vital about you. The expectations that you have of them. The expectations you have of yourself are going to be reflected around the people around you. I used to do this. I used to have such high standards of myself that I constantly had this pressure to perform, constantly had this pressure to be perfect. And if I stuttered, like I did in that moment before in this video, I would completely start over again. But then that's unnatural. We don't get a sense that that person is just flowing with life. There's a struggle happening within that person. And so we take on that feeling. Consequently, if you're going on dates and you're not letting that person in at all to see the imperfections about you, then that person is going to have the subconscious perception that you expect that of them, that that's what you want your life to look like. So naturally, the people that are going to be in your life are going to have to fit in that box. And there's very few people that are interested in that life. Well, maybe they are for a while. It's an ideal, but it often crumbles. The truth is, none of us can ever run from the fact that we're imperfect. And that's a good thing, because it means we're going to be constantly growing. It means that we're constantly picking up new ideas and incorporating them into our lives, matching the entropy and the chaos that life is. It means we're not static, which would be boring. Even if you really enjoy that static life, that's really a protection mechanism, keeping everything the same. And your subconscious might be actually employing that to keep you safe. Perfectionism is also a mechanism that keeps us from actually trying anything in life. It kept me stuck for so long because I was constantly not ready to even meet the world, to even talk to people, because I wasn't the ideal that I had for myself. I couldn't even enjoy the process of going towards that ideal. I wasn't accepting that I was flawed, and so I was never even putting myself out there. That's why this YouTube channel never started before now, because I had never really fully accepted the fact that the perfectionism that I was experiencing was a product of a simple process that my mind was undergoing to keep me safe. I found out the reason why through something called RTT, which I talked about in the last video. And it's something I do for people now to help people break these mental cycles and traps that we experience through life that don't seem to make any sense. If you're interested at all, there's a link down in the description if you want to talk more about this. If you experience perfectionism, I suggest that you be kind to yourself most of all, because that's one thing that I struggled with doing. In the beginning, I really, really struggled finding out that I wasn't perfect. I started to feel bad, and I started to get angry at myself that I didn't discover this before, or that I couldn't let it go. And of course, that's just wasted time, and it becomes a self-perpetuating cycle of pain, because I get angry about the fact that I wasn't perfect. That's just reflecting the fact that I still think I need to be perfect, and I can't accept my flaws. So accept the fact that you have flaws. Be kind to yourself. There's no right way to do this life, but there are many clues along the way as to the less painful ways to live life. And I'm wishing that you find more and more of those so that your path can be smooth and you can contribute the best things that you have to the people around you. I'm sending you all the best. Lots of love. Peace out.